Hey everyone, welcome to the Discover Virginia podcast. I'm Joseph Trahan, your host for the #1 video podcast in Virginia, where we explore the rich history, vibrant culture, and iconic businesses that make our Commonwealth truly special and worth talking about. So get ready as together we discover Virginia. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be exploring the unique relationship we all share with nature and how it impacts our mood and the way in which we see our world. Joining us today is Emily Britton, a founder of Earthkeeper Healing, a master practitioner of shamanic energy medicine and Reiki master. Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And just for those of you listening, Emily's mission is to empower individuals to see how they are connected through a vast web of love and light that resides within each one of us. And remembering the single truth is where healing begins. Today, we'll be diving into her personal journey to discovering her unique relationship with Mother Nature and combined with her diverse background and experiences to help others heal and reconnect with themselves. And what better place to do that than here in the wonderful city of Virginia Beach, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So, Emily, you've had quite a journey from living in various places. I think you mentioned Washington, Louisiana, and California, which are completely three different worlds, to finally landing here in Virginia Beach. What brought you here originally, and how did your life experiences lead you to start Earthkeepers Healing?
Wow, so that's a big question. I'm sure I'm not the first one. The Navy has brought me here. I began in Ohio. That's where I grew up. Met my husband in Ohio, and then since then, and even before I met my husband, I've traveled a lot, lived abroad. Yeah. And with my husband, we've been stationed through the Navy in South Carolina, Louisiana, as you said, Washington, California, and the Navy then brought us here to Virginia Beach. And to be honest, I loved the West Coast, and it was really hard to come over here to the East Coast, a totally different environment and culture. And I wasn't super excited, but what I have discovered is that is actually a huge metaphysical and spiritual community here, which has totally just exponentially grown my own spiritual journey and just opened the doors for me to begin my own business and offering as a spiritual healer here in the area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As we tell all of our military family members and service members and new friends, we're glad the Navy brought you. We're sorry it took you from the West Coast because I've got a chance to visit the West Coast with my wife for our what is it? After you get married, but it's like a few years after, so it's not a honeymoon. But we really enjoyed the West Coast as well. So Emily, working from nonprofits to studying abroad and even considering the Peace Corps at one point, it's clear you've always had a strong calling to make a difference. How did this calling evolve over the years, and especially when you began exploring mindfulness practices and energy healing?
Yeah, so my spiritual journey is a big question. So if you have the time, I'll try to break it down.
Let's hear it, yeah.
And I'll say that, oftentimes in our Western culture, we like to think of things very linearly, like I started at point A and I arrived at point
B. Quick and fast and in a straight line.
And it's not like that. In a spiritual journey and really in life in general, things go in a spiral. Yeah. And so for me, I'll try my best to put it into that linear format. But starting with the foundations for me, I grew up in rural Ohio in a lot of nature. We had 20 acres, we had a pond, we had a woods, and I could really just be a wild, uninhibited child. And that was a really strong foundation for me to be able to, just really have my own freedom of thoughts and expression, and there was nothing outside to inhibit that. And, and then also just really starting as a child, I did have a yearning to make a difference, to help others in some way. I didn't know how that would transpire. I literally had a role model of Mother Teresa, and I grew up very Catholic. And so Catholicism was a big part of my religious upbringing. And all that kind of, and I will say also my, first experiences with death, if you will. When my grandmother passed away when I was around the age of 9, that really opened the door for existential questions. And so all of that kind of fed into my decision to pursue theology. I went to Xavier University and received my bachelor's degree of theology. And during that time of pursuing theology, I actually had what many of us would call a dark night of the soul. And I'm not sure if you've heard that term before.
Would you please explain?
Yeah. So it's not just a specific night or a specific day. It's actually, it can be over a long span of time. It can be days, weeks, months, years, where people there's something that happens in their life, whether it's a traumatic event, an illness, an injury, that really causes them to shake the foundations of their belief systems.
Right.
And so that happened to me. And during the time I was in college, I had some traumatic events that totally shook my belief systems and my belief systems in religion in general and in Catholicism. And so while I'm pursuing theology, this happened to me. And I still completed my theology degree, but oddly enough, I went in as a Catholic and I came out really agnostic. I really didn't know what I believed. I lost my belief system, and that was a really hard time. It's really challenging. But as you come to learn with shamanic medicine and in spirituality, that those, even though they seem like dark and heavy times in your life, they actually open the door to learning more about yourself, learning more about the world, and you grow and you evolve. And so that really opened the door for me to explore other modes of spirituality. And from there, I, left, got my theology degree, and then I started traveling the world. I lived in Korea for a couple of years. I traveled Southeast Asia. I learned about Buddhism and mindfulness and, researched that. And then I still had this yearning inside of me to make a difference. And I thought, I did think for a while I was going to do the Peace Corps. I'm like, maybe this is it. Yeah. And then for a while I was literally ready to go teach children in Jordan. And I, thought that was it. And I worked at an organic farm for a while. I worked at a nonprofit thinking, is this it? Is this how I'm supposed to make a difference? And it never was quite it. And then I met my husband, got married, had 3 beautiful boys, and I thought maybe this is it, And motherhood is a beautiful calling, and I really embodied that profoundly for about 10 years, and thinking this is how I'm supposed to make a difference. Everything put me here to, be a good parent and to create good humans for the world. Mm-hmm. But yet there's still the yearning. I was like, there's still something more in me to give, and that by this point I'm now in Virginia Beach. And this is where the beautiful intersection of science and spirituality kind of came in. And we're living in an age where there's so much beautiful science that's kind of really bridging the divide between science and spirituality. There's more research and studies being done. So for me, that was what was really compelling to pursue energy healing. And that has become now, I realize this is it. This is the calling. This is really getting to the root of where a lot of suffering occurs. There's many people out there, whether you're a parent or, you're working at a nonprofit or working at a food bank or whatever it is. And oftentimes we're operating from a place of depletion, fatigue, kind of negativity, pessimism. Is this really going to work? There's so much to do, Right. And for me, getting to the root of it, working with energy is really clearing our energy field, because we all are energetic beings. Electricity flows through us. And so that's really, for me, getting to the root of it, clearing our energy field so that we can actually give from a place of bounty, of plenty, of beauty, of the beautiful energy that's within each of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to talk about that next. But Emily, first off, thank you for sharing your journey. No, absolutely not. I mean, for a lot of people, my trade is working as a realtor, helping people relocate, and we want to make it nice and pretty when life is not always nice and pretty, right? It's not linear. It's confusing. There's a lot of things. And I think what you alluded to, that beautiful analogy of essentially, tearing everything down so you could see the foundation and going through your theological studies. I think a lot of people studying that have to wrestle with those questions, right? It's very normal, and it's important to do that. And it sounds like you've had these bursts of energy. Being getting married, obviously, is very fantastic. Being a mother, and also just figuring out how you can provide value into the world. I want to jump into the Earthkeeper Healing next, because this is a relatively newer business to you in the Virginia Beach area. Although, as you mentioned before, there's a big community for it. There's a big need for it. So your business is focuses on shamanic healing, energy, medicine, Reiki, mindfulness practices, and forest therapy, which is a great place to do that, because in Virginia Beach we have First Landing State Park, the beach, the oceanfront, some cool hidden gems. Some people might be skeptical about energy healing and question whether it really works. Like, okay, things bring in energy, and then you sleep, and now you have more energy. What would you say to someone who might be hesitant to try it, especially if they're used to more conventional methods of healing? I know you mentioned your upbringing through Catholicism, or somebody might have a different belief system that they grew up with that may look different as they now are adults.
That's such a good question. I'm not sure. There's so many ways I could answer that. For starters, I would say, why not? Dig deep a little bit in why. What is it that you're resisting in this? And I think that was literally for me. I kind of came in as a skeptic. As I said, I really had abandoned my belief systems. And so I really was looking for tangible evidence of pursuing this path. I was really skeptical. I was looking for logic, reason, scientific studies. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of scientific studies happening right now. There's a beautiful institute on the West Coast called IONS. It's the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And they're doing phenomenal studies right now that are really showing the power of the real tangible studies of consciousness, of mindfulness, how it impacts our physical reality.
Sure.
And so as I've started to dig deeper in that, and there's a great book called The Field, for anyone interested, by Lynn McTaggart. These are really like nuggets of tangible evidence that's showing the power of our consciousness, of mindfulness, that we carry energy within us, and that our energy affects other people's energies, and it affects the energies of things that we might not consider alive, a plant, even a couch, the floor. These things are all alive, and we are all in relationship with it. So dig a little deeper. Ask yourself, why not? And then look into the science, because there's actually quite a few studies. We may not see it on the mainstream, but there's a lot of real studies out there about how our energetic bodies are affecting our physical reality. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's very fascinating, too, because with the access to information, it's very prevalent to be able to find resources to items like this and conversations like these for individuals who are studying this journey. I'm curious for you, Emily, is there some sort of correlation with a higher being when it comes to this type of practice, or are they more independent from each other? Is it a supplement? Is it tied in some way? And is it completely void? What does that look like for the relationship?
You're discussing what I'm offering?
For a purpose of a higher being. So someone may be skeptical, and maybe their mainstream belief system might be a higher being. So does this type of practice play into that? Is there any correlation, or is it completely void of a higher being?
It is not void of a higher being, and I personally do not think it conflicts with anyone's personal belief systems of a higher being. But in their own religious systems, they may have differing opinions.
Right.
But for me personally, my belief system is that we are all connected by a higher being. There is an energetic force of the cosmos, so I'll go existential there, that runs through all of us, that connects and unifies us in this beautiful planet that we live in amongst our beautiful galaxies and cosmos. There is a unifying energetic force, and you can call that God, you can call it, source. There's so many different names you can put upon it, and the name is not what's important. It's just that there is an energy that flows through us that connects us all. And so it's what I'm offering is really just tapping into that beautiful energy that flows through all of us. And finding it within us. It's not external. It's actually, we're part of it. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely. And so when it comes to that journey of, identifying what that higher being may look like for an individual, or perhaps if there isn't one, I know you mentioned and alluded to earlier, there's not a linear journey. It's very much so, and seems like waves or seasons of life. For somebody embarking on this journey, what are some things that they need to expect when they begin to wrestle these types of questions? What are some things they need to be prepared for when they're talking amongst their friends or family members and they're really tackling these tough issues? Because I'll allude to this very briefly. It's an election year, and it highlights just how little we talk about fundamental issues amongst our community. So with that being said, how does one navigate those types of conversations with their friends and family?
Oh, that's such a big question for me to answer. So I would say, honestly, for me, and it's really simple, all answers can be answered simply, and they also have a very complicated answer. And I'm just going to go to the simple answer, which is really just like tuning into your heart space.
Okay.
The heart, and again, energetic studies, there's scientific studies on this, but there literally is, it's like a portal of beautiful energy, and that is where you can find that beautiful divine source of energy within yourself. And so when you find yourself in divisive, conflicting situations, especially with the politics and family dynamics, coming to your heart space is where you can find your truth, and not getting lost into divisive arguments, that when you find that there's people taking sides, one or the other, and it can be politics, it can be on the smallest of things of what's right or wrong on the playground or whatever,
Walmart and Target, right?
Yeah,
very
yes.
simple issues that can divide people.
Yeah, it's the division is like when you find yourself on one side or the other, that's where you need to that's a red flag. It's really coming to the heart of finding like we are all connected. We are not, we're not actually divided. We're all a part of the same thing, and it's finding the heart of the matter. I don't know if that's answering the question.
It does, Emily, and I appreciate you. I wanted to start higher level and then kind of work down because, like I said, there may be skeptics out there or maybe curious as to like how it fits because that's what we like to do. We like to put things in boxes and fit in our lives before we try new things. So within that spirit, I'd love to ask one more question before we dive into the business. And this is a question we've had individuals who, have been former Navy SEALs. They served and worked during 9/11, and individuals who have seen a lot of the world as you have, but just in different contexts. I know you mentioned this power before, this energy, this good energy, looking within your good energy. Do you believe that people all have good energy, or do you believe that some individuals may not have the good energy that you speak of?
That is such a good question. I do believe everybody has this beautiful energy running through them. However, we, in our own lifetimes, and if you believe in reincarnation in previous lifetimes, we have wounds that we acquire, and they're deeply embedded in us. And so for some, those wounds go unhealed and unaddressed, unseen, and then that creates our outward expressions in life. And so sometimes those outward expressions can be really ugly, really, really mean, and we see that in reality. But I think within people and even businesses that are having these ugly, mean expressions, there's goodness that runs through all of it. It's just that there's wounds unhealed, unseen. And that's actually, that leads right into my business is what is finding those wounds. That's a big step, finding that, and then releasing it, finding healing there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Emily, thanks for talking big picture as we come down to the, let's say, the dirt of the earth as opposed to the existential, because this is an independent solo journey, as I think you alluded to earlier, where you're not trying to fix all the existential problems in the world, but you're trying to help an individual identify their point in that journey for themselves. What inspired you to bring all these healing modalities together, and how do they help you and your clients connect more deeply with themselves as they begin to embark on this journey?
So, how I brought all these together and what I'm hoping to offer. This is just the beginning for me, to be honest, and I think there's so many more amazing modalities to add and incorporate.
Sure.
And what I offer may not resonate for everyone, but that, what I do offer comes from a place of truth in my own personal experience and spiritual journey. And it really just comes from the heart space, using indigenous ancient practices that are really powerful that, oftentimes we underestimate the value of indigenous wisdom and knowledge. And they've preserved a lot of energy medicine that we're now starting to actively use in our modern day society. And so I'm bringing that beautiful, ancient traditions along with many others. I'm not the only one.
Sure.
And offering it to people as a service of helping them awaken and remember who they are. And I forgot the second part of your question.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So just identifying how you help clients. So it sounds like it's very personalized to their journey, and you have a few different modalities for which you leverage to be able to help facilitate that journey.
Yes. And so, I will say that even though what I offer is really through a personal journey and helping someone along that, it truly is bigger picture as well, because we are of the world. We are of the cosmos, if you will, but we are not divided, again, going back to that division. And so when we heal individually, we actually are healing part of the earth, because we're literally beings of the earth. We don't come from anywhere else. We're from the earth. So for me, it's really powerful to help someone on their spiritual journey, because I truly believe it's actually helping the earth on a bigger picture. Yeah. And so as far as what I'm offering, I'm bringing in, a lot of it is shamanic traditions. And I'm following a lineage of the Quiro people of the Andes.
Okay.
And their lineage and traditions, and I've been training under the Four Winds Society, which has brought that into a more modern way of offering it. And so we basically work with the energy system, and we identify stories and physical wounds, emotional wounds, mental wounds, on all levels, whether it's in this lifetime or previous lifetimes. And we identify it, and then we bring healing to it. We clear the energy field of the specific wounds. And oftentimes there's big stories in our life, big things we're dealing with, whether it's depression or high blood pressure or whatever it may be, that actually feed back into a deeper core wound that we don't even realize are connected to so many things. And so as a shamanic practitioner, I kind of can tie that all together. And then we release it. We work together. And it doesn't necessarily always happen in a single session.
Right.
It can take a few to really get deep to the heart of the matter. Sometimes you just have to do an overall clearing, and then you can start to see things better. So using a lot of shamanic traditions. And then the Reiki energy is very different, but it works through the practice. Reiki energy is essentially... it's allowing, through my trainings and attunements, this energy can flow through me. And so it just really enhances the overall experience and allows more energy to flow through a healing session.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that's kind of the inspiration for your name, Earthkeeper Healing.
Yeah.
It seems to be more about just personal healing. It's about reconnecting with nature and finding a deeper sense of community amongst Mother Earth. You've mentioned you're organizing forest bathing events and Earthkeeper cleanups. Can you tell us more about these initiatives and how they align with your mission overall?
Yeah, so I love forest bathing, and for anyone who doesn't know what that is, I mean, we all, we spend time outside, we go on a hike, and I know, honestly, when I was younger, when I would go hiking, I'm kind of like, this is beautiful, great, but, okay, now let's go back home, and it's done. You
just visually see it.
Yeah,
you're
not engaging it. Or it's more about a destination. Okay, I've reached the top of this mountain or whatever, and now I go back home, and I've completed that. It's in a sense of accomplishment, but we're not actually deeply engaging in a sense of relationship with it. So forest bathing is a beautiful opportunity to really engage in nature in a way that we never have before. There's a lot of beautiful practices and exercises that really awaken our senses. And I can speak for me personally, the first time I ever did forest bathing, I went in skeptically like, oh my God, I hope no one sees me doing this. This is kind of silly. I'm doing this weird thing in nature with some other people. What are they going to think? And it was amazing. Afterwards, I never saw nature the same after that. My eyes were open in how beautiful and amazing nature is on the microcosmic and macrocosmic scale. Yeah. And it actually, for me, opened up the doors for painting. I'm an artist and I paint, and I hadn't painted for like 10 years. And after doing one forest bathing session, I was like painting beautiful landscape paintings, and it just really came alive. So it really can awaken things in someone spiritually, but also physically. There's a lot of studies out there that forest bathing can reduce your cortisol levels, lower your heart rate, your blood pressure. So it's amazing what forest bathing can do. So sorry, that's a long answer,
that's okay.
But forest bathing is what I wish, and I'm hoping and aspiring to offer in the Virginia Beach area, engaging people in some of the beautiful parks that are in our area that are not just First Landing. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful, city parks here. There's like Stumpy Lake, and there's the Dismal Swamp, and there's some beautiful hidden gems around here. So first of all, to engage people, to allow them to realize, oh wow, there's more than just First Landing.
Right. Yeah.
And they're beautiful. And so to engage in the spots that are here in our local community, but then also to engage with themselves in that nature spot. And then ultimately to engage with others in that nature spot. So it's kind of a threefold, if you will, of goal of what I'm hoping to offer through forest bathing and through ceremonial events. I'm still kind of searching for the right venue and place to do fire ceremonies, cacao ceremonies, because that's also something else in our Western society that's kind of missing right now, is this, the ceremonial element to a lot of things. A lot of people are right now kind of leaving their kind of religious systems and belief systems, and they don't really know what to do with that, and so they don't have ceremonies or rituals, and they don't have a community. So I'm looking to kind of offer that, for people who are kind of squabbling right now, don't know where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Virginia Beach, with it being such a vibrant and diverse community, helps with that as well, as you mentioned some of those other great places.
Yes.
As a relatively newer resident, I'm curious how the community has shaped your business and influenced your work so far.
Oh my gosh, well, it's been significant because, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the ARE here, but it's a really big.
What does ARE stand for?
ARE is the Association of Research and Enlightenment, I believe, and it's it actually was started. Edward Casey is probably the most widely documented psychic in the world. And he grew up here in Virginia Beach, and that is the start of ARE, and it has drawn a huge metaphysical community of people, psychics and mediums and channelers and healers, and everyone. So it's actually, and I did not know that before coming.
Really? So you kind of discovered that as you were starting business and things.
Yes. I was like, I'm looking for a community. And so I went to a few ARE gatherings, and they have some open houses and stuff, great gatherings there. And then from there, I started to notice, if you drive around, you notice there's a lot of psychics and healers. You see the little businesses, and you can be skeptical, and there is a spectrum. I mean, there's some good ones, and there's some ones that are not so good. But
you don't have to leave your brain at the door.
Yeah.
You can still be critically thinking.
Yes,
about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So from there, I just it just kind of opened the door for me. I'm like, there's people out here that are curious about this too, that there's actually really great speakers and people doing great work here. And Virginia Beach is what kind of opened my eyes to that. And discovered Reiki healing through that. So
incredible. As you mentioned your journey, it kind of you felt like the alignment occurred when you got here, even though you might have been skeptical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that meeting those individuals played a part in that as well?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. And to be honest, I up until coming to Virginia Beach, I had yet to find my own kind of spiritual community of close friends that I could work with and colleagues. And I was always like, how do people find that? Because, it is kind of taboo and woo-woo, this field that I'm in. Yeah. And I, didn't know how to find other like-minded people. And I came here, and it's like, immediately, I now have this beautiful community of friends that are, some are Reiki healers and shamanic practitioners. And it's just amazing that I found that here, and I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we appreciate you being on the show to talk about that as well, because many individuals may be in that season of transition, and they do need some additional resources or information. So we appreciate you being that guide. I love hearing about all this and you creating a space not only for individual healing, but also communal healing as well. I mean, you mentioned the bathing events earlier. How do you see Earthkeeper Healing? We're going to kind of go big picture into the future. Okay. If there is such a thing with energy, right? But, maybe what you can anticipate with the current energy you have. What role do you see it playing, bringing the communities together in the future and leveraging your business with Earthkeeper Healing?
So what role do I see my business? Okay. So obviously right now I feel like I'm starting small. I'm doing individual healing sessions. Yeah. But, I will be launching my first workshop, which is a virtual workshop right now, of really awakening other earth keepers, if you will, of if those kind of looking to go a little bit deeper in their spiritual journey. And so I feel like that's the next step for me offering it. But beyond that is really what I want to do is offering in-person workshops and courses. And I'm looking for that platform and venue right now here in Virginia Beach. Because in person, when you're in community with others, is so key and crucial, and it's powerful.
That's why we switched to live podcasting.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Emily, before we wrap things up today, we're going to shift gears here and do some fun rapid-fire questions. Okay. All you have to do is answer these questions, and then if you get through them, you get an opportunity to we'll roll out the red carpet and give you a final word to end the conversation with. Sound good?
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. First one, favorite spot to watch the sunrise in Virginia Beach?
Oh, absolutely. I go to the beach right there. Well, actually, because I'm military, I can go to the Dam Neck Beach.
Oh, so, okay. Yeah, the Dam Neck Beach. Yeah, you and your military folks out there. Yeah.
Sorry.
Morning meditation or evening meditation for you, if you have a preference?
Both, but, right now, morning is where it's at. It's my jam. Yeah. It's and I will say real quick that morning is so important for everyone because it's just setting the intention for your entire day. So,
I love it. Bringing the energy into the day.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
What's your go-to healing practice when you're feeling overwhelmed?
Ooh, overwhelmed. There's a lot you can do. I honestly love to go just straight to my heart. My heart, and the heart for everyone is a big place of just bringing all your energy right into your heart space, grounding it. Because oftentimes our energy can go everywhere. We're thinking, we're doing, we're nervous, have anxiety or stress. And if you can bring all that energy and find your heart, almost immediately you can just ground yourself. And I'll say another really good one is a tree meditation. This is just anybody can do this, where you just imagine yourself as a tree, and imagining yourself as the trunk of the tree, and your roots are your feet, and they're just grounding into the earth, and that can give you a really amazing sense of stability and groundedness. Yeah. And then just any of your thoughts, any of that anxiety and stress can go straight up to your head, and those are the branches, and they're just reaching up to the sky, and they can move all they want in the wind up there, let them be, and then you are just the stable place of being a trunk of a tree. And so I love a tree meditation.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Love that.
Yeah.
Best local spot for a nature walk?
Oh my gosh. First Landing is amazing. But I know, you have to have a membership to go there. So if you're looking for summer free, I love Stumpy Lake. That's a beautiful little spot. There's a nice loop there. And it's just, sometimes there's some eagles and hawks flying over. There's the water causeway you can walk across. Yeah. And there's beautiful birds that come in the fall. So it's a great time to go there.
Great recommendation. If you could give someone just starting their healing journey one piece of advice, what would it be?
One piece of advice. Just say yes. Oftentimes we live in a culture where we're always so skeptical and hesitant to try something new that seems unusual or uncomfortable. But when you get a nudge, or you find yourself curious about something, or you want to know more, just say yes to that and begin exploring it. There's, no harm done if you realize it's not for you, and you can go back to what's comfortable, but just say yes to the opportunities that are presenting themselves.
Just be curious.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Emily, thank you for sharing your journey with us today, and the incredible work you're doing with the Earthkeeper Healing. For anyone listening who wants to learn more and get involved in everything you have going on, where can they go to find more about you?
Yes. So my website is earthkeeperhealing.com. You can also email me at earthkeeperhealing@gmail.com. And that's how you can find my business. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking us out on another episode of Discover Virginia podcast. That's all for today's episode, but don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next episode coming out very soon.